Part 1. Damned. That's what the vision meant. I thought back to the burning cabin in my nightmare, and everything finally clicked into place. This hunter person, whoever or whatever they were, was going to kill my entire family. The cryptic warning I'd received during my coma was clear. This was my final opportunity to save them. And according to the timeline, today was the deadline. I didn't understand who the hunter was or how they'd found us, but I knew something terrible was about to happen to the people I loved. Something irreversible. I needed to find them immediately. I had no plan for what I'd do when I got there, but staying in this hospital bed wasn't an option. Ignoring the nurses' protest and the stabbing pain shooting through my legs, I forced myself upright and yanked the IV lines from my arms. Blood trickled down to my wrists. "What do you think you're doing? Now, you're in no condition to discharge yourself." "My family's in danger," I said, limping toward the door. "This hunter, they're going after them, and they will find them, no matter where they're hiding." Unfortunately, my commotion attracted 3 additional nurses. Together, all 4 managed to wrestle me back into bed despite my struggling. 2 weeks in a coma had left me weak as a kitten, and I stood no chance against them. "How could you possibly know your family's in danger?" the first nurse asked, her voice firm but concerned. I couldn't explain it. If I tried to tell them about the visions, about the burning cabin, and the cryptic messages, they'd ship me straight to the psychiatric ward. I clenched my jaw and said nothing. "Look," she continued, softening slightly, "I understand you want to see your family, but you can't leave until you're medically cleared. I'm sorry, but those are the rules. You're putting yourselves in danger by keeping me here," I said quietly. "The hunter will come back to finish what they started, and if they have even half the capabilities I saw in those nightmares, none of you will survive." "You've been unconscious for 2 weeks, the nurse replied. "You're disoriented. There's no way this person even knows you're alive. You need rest, not—" "I know exactly what I'm talking about," I interrupted, wanted frustration bleeding into my voice. "And I need to stop them before it's too late." I pushed myself up again, and this time, surprisingly, none of them tried to stop me. I limped past all 4 nurses, through the sterile corridors, and out into the cool night air. I caught a taxi outside the emergency entrance and gave the driver my home address, arriving there around 3:30 a.m. I knew my wife and children wouldn't be there, but I hoped they'd left some kind of message. When I stumbled through the front door, I found exactly what I was looking for. A handwritten note sat on the kitchen counter, anchored by a coffee mug. It read, "We're safe. We're somewhere he'll never think to look, but you'll know where, Daniel. You remember the place? Love?" Elena, relief washed over me. They were alive. At least they had been when they wrote this. And they were somewhere I'd recognize. But where? I racked my brain on trying to think of a location that would mean something to both of us. Somewhere significant enough that she'd expect me to remember it, but obscure enough to hide from a stalker. Elena and I had started dating 12 years ago. Our first date had been at an upscale Italian restaurant downtown, but they couldn't be hiding in a restaurant. I kept thinking. Then it hit me. Our honeymoon in Austria. We'd stayed at a boutique hotel in Salzburg and spent every evening walking along the Salzach River, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold. Could they have gone back there? The more I considered it, the more sense it made. Overseas, in another country, it would be nearly impossible for someone to track them down. If I was going to make it to Salzburg before the deadline, I needed to leave immediately. My flight departed from Newark at 6:45 a.m. and would land in Salzburg around 8:30 p.m. local time, giving me roughly 3 hours to find my family and stop whatever was coming. Safely buckled into my seat as the plane taxied, I finally had time to think about what I was walking into. First, I had to locate my wife and kids. Then I had to protect them from someone I'd only seen in fever dreams and hallucinations. The hunter had seemed impossibly dangerous in my visions, almost supernatural in their ability to track and corner their prey, and I thought I could stop them. Doubt crept in like cold water. What if I was wrong about everything? What if I didn't reach them in time? For all I knew, the hunter had already found them, and I was just making their job easier by showing up. I tried to push those thoughts away, but they clung to me like cobwebs. I didn't even have clear memories of the first attack. Well, everything I knew came from nightmares and cryptic visions during my coma. Maybe the hunter wasn't as dangerous in reality. I had to believe that, or I'd never make it through the next few hours. The plane touched down in Salzburg at exactly 8:15 p.m. I didn't waste a second. I rushed through customs, caught a taxi, and directed the driver to the Goldener Hirsch Hotel, the same place Elena and I had stayed 12 years ago during our honeymoon. The hotel looked almost identical to my memories, its Baroque facade glowing warmly under the streetlights. Standing there brought back some of the happiest moments of my life, but I couldn't afford to get lost in nostalgia. I approached the front desk and asked if Elena Hartley was registered. The clerk confirmed she was, and after showing my ID and marriage certificate, I was given permission to visit their room. When I reached their door on the 3rd floor, I knocked carefully, my heart hammering. "Elena?" I called softly. "Sophie? Michael? It's me. It's Daniel." Silence. 30 seconds passed, and I started to shake. Then I heard movement. The door cracked open, and I saw my wife's face, beautiful but exhausted, dark circles under her eyes. When she recognized me, she let out a sob of relief and threw her arms around me. Over her shoulder, I could see my 7-year-old son, Michael, and my 12-year-old daughter, Sophie, standing in the room. They were all okay. "You're alive," Elena whispered into my shoulder. I thought, when they told us to run, I thought I'd never see you again." I shook my head, pulling back to look at her. "We're not safe here. The hunter knows. They know where we are, and they're coming tonight." Her face went pale. "How? How could they possibly have found us?" "Listen to me," I said, gripping her shoulders. "This isn't just some stalker. I saw things during my coma, things that don't make sense, but I know they're coming, and we need to be ready." She didn't question me. "What do we do? We either survive until midnight or we end this ourselves." We searched the hotel room for anything that could serve as a weapon. We found 2 kitchen knives in the kitchenette and a heavy brass candlestick on the mantel. It would have to be enough. Then we waited. Hours crawled by. I caught up with Elena and the kids on everything that had happened since the attack. After we'd covered everything, we sat in tense silence. Elena and I both trembled slightly while the children played quietly in the bedroom, unaware of the danger. "Are you sure they're coming?" Elena whispered. I nodded. I could feel it in my bones. Then came a knock at the door. We both froze. I approached cautiously and peered through the peephole. A hotel employee stood in the hallway. I opened the door a crack. "Sorry to disturb you, sir," he said, "but there's someone downstairs asking for you." My blood turned to ice. One, it had to be the hunter. No one else knew we were here. "Tell them I'll be down in a few minutes," I managed to say, my voice steadier than I felt. When the employee left, I turned to Elena. "This is it," I said, and my voice cracked with fear. She grabbed my hand. "You don't have to go down there. We can wait it out. There's less than an hour until midnight." "We can't hide for an hour," I said. "Not from this." "Then we run," she said desperately. "No, you run. Take the kids out the back exit and go. I'll find you after I end this." "I'm not leaving you," she said, tears streaming down her face. I kissed her forehead. "Think of Sophie and Michael. Please, I'll be okay." I sent them toward the back stairwell. Michael looked back at me as Elena pulled him along. "Daddy, why aren't you coming?" "I have something I need to do, buddy. Go with your mom. I'll find you soon." Watching them disappear down the stairs broke something inside me, and pure fear flooded in to fill the space. I was about to face the hunter alone, with no idea what to expect. I forced myself to walk downstairs to the lobby. When I arrived, I found it empty. No one was there. Then it clicked. The hunter knew I'd send my family away. They knew I'd face them alone. They never intended to meet me in the lobby. They were going after Elena and the kids while I was separated from them. "No," I breathed. "No, no, no." I sprinted toward the back exit, while screaming for my family to run. When I burst through the door into the alley, I saw them. Elena and the kids huddled together near the wall, and standing over them was a figure in a dark coat. "Get away from them," I roared. The figure turned. Their face was ordinary, middle-aged, unremarkable, but their eyes gleamed with something cold and predatory. In their left hand, they held a long hunting knife. "Why?" they asked casually. "We're all going to die eventually." "I'm just speeding things along." They smiled. "Besides, I think the boy would look better with a few less inches." Rage exploded through me, obliterating my fear. I charged. I caught them off guard and tackled them hard to the pavement. Their head cracked against the cobblestones and blood pooled beneath them, but they recovered quickly, stronger than they should have been. They swung the knife wildly and caught my shoulder. I screamed as pain tore through me, warm blood soaking my shirt. "Run!" I shouted to my family. They ran. The hunter came at me again. I was fading, vision blurring, but I grabbed for the knife. It sliced deep into my palm, but I didn't let go. With everything I had left, I twisted it around and drove it into their thigh. They howled. Then everything went black. When I woke up, I was lying in the alley. The hunter lay motionless beside me, the knife buried in their chest. I had no memory of the final moments, but somehow I'd finished it. When I staggered to my feet and went to find my family, they were safe. It was over. The resort manager's smile never quite reached his eyes when he handed us the key to the honeymoon suite. My wife Sarah squeezed my hand as we walked down the dimly lit hallway of the beachfront hotel in Belize, our luggage wheels clicking against the terracotta tiles. We'd saved for 2 years for this trip, and nothing was going to ruin it. The suite was beautiful, ocean view, king bed draped in white linens, champagne waiting on ice, but there was a smell underneath the tropical air freshener, something organic and faintly sweet, like flowers left too long in water. Sarah wrinkled her nose, but said nothing. We were too tired from traveling to care. That first night I woke to Sarah sitting upright in bed, staring at the bathroom door. "There's someone in there," she whispered. I listened. Water was running in the sink. I turned it off before bed, I was certain. When I checked, the faucet was on full blast, steam clouding the mirror. The door had been locked from the inside, or though we were the only ones with the key. The next morning we laughed it off over breakfast. Old plumbing, faulty locks. The waiter who served our coffee kept glancing at our room number on the check, then at us, with an expression I couldn't read. Pity, maybe, or concern. We spent the day snorkeling and drinking rum punch, determined to enjoy ourselves. But when we returned, our belongings had been moved. Not stolen, moved. Sarah's sundress hung in a different part of the closet. Some of my toiletries were rearranged on the bathroom counter. The front desk insisted housekeeping hadn't entered our room. The electronic lock showed no entry after we'd left that morning. That evening, Sarah found the photos while unpacking a beach bag. 3 Polaroids, tucked between the mattress and headboard. They showed our suite. Same furniture, same layout, but with different people. A young couple, smiling in one photo. The second showed just the woman, alone, her smile strained. So the third was only the bed, unmade and empty, with what looked like dark stains on the white sheets. I took the photos to the front desk. The night manager, different from the one who checked us in, went pale. He made a phone call in rapid Spanish, words I couldn't follow except for one. Otra vez? Again. They offered to move us immediately, but it was 11 p.m. and we were exhausted. They promised to post security outside our door. We agreed to stay one more night. I wish we hadn't. To around 3 a.m., I woke to Sarah's side of the bed empty. The bathroom light was on, door ajar. I could see her silhouette through the gap, standing motionless at the mirror. "Sarah?" No response. I got up, pushed the door open. She was staring at the mirror, tears streaming down her face. "She won't stop showing me," Sarah whispered. "She keeps showing me what he did." In the mirror's reflection, I saw words written in the condensation that had formed on the glass. Though the shower hadn't been running, "Help me." And below it, a name, Alina. I grabbed Sarah and we left. Didn't pack, didn't check out, just ran. In the lobby, the night manager was arguing with 2 police officers. They stopped talking when they saw us. One officer's eyes widened at our room number, on the key I tossed on the desk. We learned the truth at a different hotel from a bartender who'd worked at the resort. 6 months before our honeymoon, a couple had stayed in that suite. The husband had killed his wife, Elena, after she'd asked for a divorce. He'd staged it as an accident, a fall in the bathroom, but the staff knew. They'd found things. The resort had covered it up, renovated the room, and kept it in rotation. We flew home 3 days early. Sarah hasn't been the same since. She doesn't sleep well. Sometimes I catch her staring at mirrors with an expression of profound sadness, as if she's seeing something I can't. We never did finish our honeymoon. Some rooms, well, I've learned, don't want to let go of what happened in them, and some guests never really check out. The resort brochure promised privacy, seclusion, and romance, everything two newlyweds could want. What it didn't mention was how the old converted monastery's stone walls would amplify every sound at night, or how the isolation would feel less like intimacy and more like imprisonment. My husband Jake and I arrived at the Cliffside Resort in Santorini on a Tuesday afternoon, exhausted but excited. Our room overlooked the caldera, all whitewashed walls and blue-domed churches dotting the volcanic landscape. Perfect honeymoon material. We were in room 302. The couple in 304, directly next door, checked in an hour after us. I first heard them that night. Not the sounds you'd expect from honeymooners. No laughter, no intimate murmurs. Instead, a woman's voice, flat and monotone, repeating the same phrase over and over. We should go down to the water. We should go down to the water. Then silence. Then the phrase again, like a skipping record. Jake was already asleep, jet-lagged, and snoring softly. I pressed my ear against the cool plaster wall, telling myself I was being nosy, that it was none of my business. But something about her voice made my skin prickle. It wasn't pleading or suggesting. It was mechanical, rehearsed. The next morning we saw them at breakfast. She was beautiful in that effortless way some women are, with long dark hair and a white linen dress. He was older, maybe by 15 years, with expensive sunglasses and a hand that never left the small of her back. They didn't speak to each other. She stared at her untouched plate while he ate methodically, cutting his food into precise squares. When she stood to leave, I noticed the bruises, faint yellow-green marks circling her wrists like bracelets. She caught me looking and smiled, a smile that never reached her eyes, before he guided her away, his fingers pressing into her spine. "Did you see that?" I whispered to Jake. See what?" "Her wrist. She's hurt." He shrugged, pouring more coffee. "Maybe she fell." "Babe, it's our honeymoon. Let's not get involved in other people's drama." But I couldn't stop thinking about her. That night I heard them again. Her voice, the same phrase. "We should go down in the water." Then his voice, low and controlled. "Not yet. Soon. When I say." I sat up in bed, my heart hammering. Jake stirred beside me. "What's wrong?" "Something's not right next door. I think she's in trouble." He listened for a moment to the silence that had fallen. "I don't hear anything. You're stressed. Come here." He pulled me close, and eventually I fell into uneasy sleep. On our third day, we took a sunset cruise. The couple from 304 was there too, standing at the bow. The wind whipped her hair across her face, and she didn't brush it away. He stood behind her, both hands on her shoulders, leaning close to her ear. From where I sat, it looked almost romantic. Almost. When the boat anchored for swimming, she walked to the edge. She didn't dive. She simply stepped off, like walking through a doorway, and disappeared beneath the dark water. For a long moment, no one reacted. Then chaos, shouting, life preservers thrown, crew members diving in. They pulled her out. She was alive, coughing up seawater, but her eyes were empty. Paramedics met us at the dock. As they loaded her into the ambulance, she looked directly at me and mouthed something, and I couldn't hear her over the commotion, but I could read her lips. He told me to. The man, her husband, stood apart from the crowd, phone to his ear, face expressionless. When the ambulance left, he walked past us back toward the resort, and I heard him say into his phone, "The insurance policy is active. Yes, I'm certain." Jake wanted to go to the police, but what would we say? We had no proof, just overheard fragments and a feeling. The resort moved us to a different building that night, and we cut our honeymoon short by 2 days. I still think about her. I've searched Greek news sites obsessively, but I don't know her name, and stories about tourist accidents are common. Sometimes I wake up at night hearing her voice through walls that aren't there. "We should go down to the water. We should go down to the water." And I wonder if she ever came back up.